Welcome, everybody. Once again, BMC has brought out a lot of nice new features, many of them, as always, from customer suggestions through the BMC communities and the early adopter programs and all. So I think you'll be real pleased with some of the things that you're going to see today as we go through this. Again, just our contact information if you want more information about this or want somebody to get in touch with you directly about a Winter 15 upgrade after the fact. This is our contact information. So let's talk about Winter 15, what the features are, what the enhancements are, and they really kind of round these three major components, right? They tried to leverage the mobility piece and self-service and make it even more user-friendly, increase the capabilities of what you can do. As you can see here, we're now using that Salesforce One app, which is what staff uses to be able to access Remedyforce. We've added things like being able to do SLAs, actions, tasks, notes, and some additional information about setting up Remedyforce chat. We'll go into all of these in a little bit more detail. Around staff productivity, there's a great new dashboard out there so that a particular agent can see all of the things they need to see in a single pane of glass, as opposed to having to change the view of their console. And it's going to be very welcomed by a lot of us who've been around this product for a long time. There's a new CMDB dashboard that's provided for you out of the box to let you leverage that rich CMDB data that we have out there, not only for use within the product, but of course then in these pre-built dashboards that you've got out there. And then we've also done something with web services that's been asked for a long time, and that's to be able to automate, redundant tasks with outbound web service calls right from the tasks themselves. And we'll go into that in a certain amount of detail. And then, of course, as we have said up front, a lot of the customer-related ideas and suggestions that came through the BMC communities. Then we also have a new metrics report around licensing that a number of customers had asked for so they could monitor usage, and very exciting, the ability to migrate data from one org to another org. So we'll go into these all in some level of detail, and I think there's something here for everybody. So let's talk about Salesforce One. It's been around for a while. It's, one of those reasons that, BMC chose to put Remedyforce on the Force.com platform, because they then provided an app. They had an app called Salesforce One, and all we had to do was make sure that it could leverage Remedyforce data just like it leverages Salesforce data. And in this new release, again, we've added to the actions. Before, you could basically do incidents and so forth. But now, as you see over here on the left-hand part of this presentation, we've added the ability to see service level targets and where we are within our service targets. We've added additional action types that you might want to do to an incident or whatever form that you happen to be working in. We've now given you the ability to view notes and the action history about the particular ticket in there. So as you can quickly see, these are a lot of enhancements that have been needed for a long time, and I'm really thrilled to see that they finally come about here. Knowledge management is now a lot easier to be able to not only search but take those knowledge contents and copy it right into the tickets that you're working on. Some options out there for reassigning to either staff or queue, the ability when creating that new ticket to actually leverage a template that may be out there, just like you could have done from your desktop before. You can now do it through the Salesforce One app. And an ability to do due date recalculations if the priority changes. And what's totally new on the kind of the middle part of your screen is we can now do full task management within the Salesforce One app. So the ability to create tasks, edit tasks, actions around email, add a note to a task, view notes, close a task, link a task to an incident, the typical things that you would expect to be able to do is now available through the Remedyforce. And the app itself, as you see in kind of the bottom header there, footer, I guess you should say, is they've made the UI a little bit nicer, better looking icons and those types of things. So real excited about that. Just to give you some of the different views there. Starting on the left-hand side is That's where you can now, while you're in the incident itself, real quickly see the new actions that are out there. As you can see, add notes, email something, record something, do a knowledge search. Very, very user-friendly to be able to do it right from within the screen. The second one kind of shows you that you're seeing that same little blue icon as you see when you're coming into an incident from your desktop that you're working. You now have that same little icon indicator to let you know how you are coming against your service target. And then the third screenshot, actually, if you want to drill into it, you can see how much time you have remaining to be in compliance with that actual service target. And then the screen on the right, again, is just showing an example of, hey, do we need to redo the due date calculations based on the fact that we're changing the priority, and that can be handled right on the phone. So, again, these are just screenshots to give you an idea of what we talked about on the previous page. Just a few more shots here. This is kind of showing where you can see the action history, what's going on as we've tried to resolve this particular ticket over time. The second from the left is showing how now from the Salesforce One app you can actually search the knowledge base. And then, of course, in the next one, if I find a knowledge article that will help resolve this particular ticket that I'm looking at, I can actually copy the knowledge right from here into my incident or whatever ticket I'm working in. Yeah, just user friendliness. The menu options pop right up within the screen as opposed to having to back up like you used to do to a whole different section of kind of the baseline settings. So they made some great improvements in that. The task we talked about was new in this particular release, and this, again, is just showing you some screenshots, not unlike the way you would see an incident. It's just now, of course, that it's very task list based. So here are my tasks, here are the menu things I can do, here's some of the options I could do. And of course, as you would expect, if I now create a task, I have the ability to let that be a standalone task, or I can take that task and link it to another ticket like an incident, which we would frequently do as we would go through that. So as many of you may remember from the last time we did one of these What's New, one of the features that was new back in the summer release was beta chat. And, we were going to make staff available to initiate a chat session, but it was kind of in a beta thing, and now that we've refined it, got it out there, it's now fully GA. And, they spent a lot of time working on this because there's some interesting statistics that are beginning to come about. We on the service desk, we have our own customers, and they are our internal users or perhaps our external users, and we've got to make sure that they can communicate with us the way they expect to. And, if you look at the Gen Ys and the Gen Xs, the surveys are out there saying, picking up a phone and talking to somebody is way down on the list of preferable methods. And that should be obvious to all of us, given the proliferation of everything's an app, and, you do everything when you want to do it, whenever you need to do it, whether that's coming from the My IT, type of anywhere, anytime, or whether it's from a different range. And so as you can see here, it's saying that, web chat channel has become priorities for most users, for over 50% of them, to be the preferred method. And so HDI went out, Help Desk Institute, I'm sure everybody's familiar with, kind of went out and started trying to put some numbers to this. And then some of these are soft, as we realize. But, they're talking about that, in order to do chat, it's found that the cost to do chat to create a ticket has come down by about 20% over the past 4 years, while the cost to actually do a fully burdened ticket for chat is 35% less than traditional channels like, emailing in or picking up the phone and calling to them. And, depending on what part of the country you're in, I've heard $5, I've heard $25, I've heard $35 per ticket, depending on what you're doing. The bottom takeaway from here is chat is going to certainly give you a better return, i.e. a lower cost of handling those tickets than if you were doing one of the more traditional methods there. So I think the thinking was, and why they put some effort in this release to make sure that chat was out there, is it's kind of the blending of both worlds. Yeah, email and pick up the phone and call, and self-service, of course, are all still out there. But why don't we also offer chat? It's what from the channel of choice section on the left, it's what our users are expecting, and you put in the millennials out there, and it's even more of a demand for that type of thing. So just think it's a better way to do it. So let's talk a little bit about what you got. Again, it is GA now as opposed to being in beta. So on the left-hand side, what are you going to get when you configure chat within Remedyforce? Well, of course, you can decide whether you even want to offer it. It may be something that's not appropriate for your organization, but if you do enable it, you can select, is it for everybody, or do we want to selectively, open it up for different accounts? And so that's all just in the normal Remedy Administrator configuration settings that you've got out there. We have the ability to define, well, what categories are allowable for chat, because you've got to make sure that whoever they're chatting with has got the subject matter expert, and so you may want to limit, the amount of things that people can chat about, depending on the complexity of your particular organization. One of the things that they did was to give you the option of having a pre-chat form, i.e. let the end user in chat answer a couple of questions so that we can better direct what subject matter expert that chat ought to be initiated to before we even start the chat session. And then we can do things like round robin based on the assignments, obviously be able to route to staff based on the category that was selected for that particular chat session. The staff, of course, once they start this chat session, they've got the ability to log that entire chat conversation into an existing or into a new incident that they say to create out there. So, we're making sure we're able to replay back all of that dialogue. So think about what a rich chronological history that's given you in the actual incident ticket. And, of course, we'll do auto-saves along the way. And then there's a new chat indicator to let staff know that they're waiting. And I'm not going to read all of these benefits on the right-hand side, but I think you can see they're pretty self-evident. We talked about the lower the users want this, so therefore it's not surprising to see things like lower abandon rates, more first call resolutions, better planning, actually the ability to better staff once we know how well chat's going to be used within our organization. So a very good thing to do there. I'm not going to go through the entire creation here, but just to let you know, there's a little wizard that you kind of go through and you determine whether you're going to enable chat. And then if you say yes, you say, well, is it for everybody? Are you going to select which accounts? And then you determine, are you going to use that pre-chat questionnaire? If you're not, you can just jump right on down to say, lay out the privileges, or we identify, well, what chat categories do we want in our particular one? And I'll show you a sample of what the screen looks like. So those of you, and I think most of you were all existing Remedyforce users, you're in the Remedyforce Administration tab at the top. Here you've obviously come down and you've said that you want to get into General Self-Service, which is part of the configure of that, and you just indicate we want to enable Remedyforce chat, as you can see by the checked icon in the orange box. Then you select, is it for everybody, or are we going to limit which accounts get that? Then you indicate whether we're going to offer the pre-chat form before you actually start the chat, yes or no. And then, of course, you select the categories that are going to be available for chat and, where they're going to be displayed. Pretty straightforward, like most Remedy administration is. One of the great things about the product. Then, of course, you're going to go in and you're going to pull from your self-service and your categories, your parents and your subtrees of what are the categories you want to be able to chat about, and those that are applicable for chat from just generalized self-service, you'll bring over and just put them into, as you can see here in the Remedyforce chat setting that you've got there. Then, of course, the next logical step would say, okay, for this given category, who are the staff or the SMEs that should be available for that thing? So it's really just building a simple little drag-and-drop configuration. Dick is for this chat item, Roger's for this chat item. We're both available for the third chat item. So it's just a matter of going in and configuring that. So kind of, in summary, once you do that, you're looking at your normal form there. It's the category is going to be mapped to the staff. The category selection is going to route it to the right member. It should improve, as we talked about, first call resolution and, of course, the ability to link the details of that chat session to an existing or to a new incident really is going to give us the rich information from a reporting standpoint, as well as from a going back to triage a given ticket there.